Good morning, everyone. My name is Mighty Stream. Today is July the 24th. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our Hood Recovery Services. I'm going to do you just for today in a meditation. Let me go ahead and get into the screen. Hopefully you can see that. It's entitled The Mask Have to Go. We covered low self-esteem by hiding behind phony images that we hoped would fool people. The masks have to go. Basic text, page 33. So that's where that quote is. If you're looking for it on page 33 of your NA basic text, the masks have to go. We talk about it all the time. Few of us remember where to find it, but there's where it's at. Our sensitivity, insecurity, and a lack of identity are often associated with active addiction. Many of us carry these with us into recovery. Our fears of inadequacy, rejection, and lack of direction do not disappear overnight. Many of us have images, false personalities we have constructed either to protect ourselves or please others. Some of us use masks because we're not sure who we really are. Sometimes we think that these images built to protect us while using might also protect us in recovery. We use false fronts to hide our true personality, to disguise our lack of self-esteem. These masks hide us from others and also from our own true selves. By living a lie, we are saying that we cannot live with the truth about ourselves. The more we hide our real selves, the more we damage our self-esteem. One of the miracles of recovery is the recognition of ourselves, complete with assets and liabilities. Self-esteem begins with this recognition. Despite our fear of becoming vulnerable, we need to be willing to let go of our disguises. We need to be free of our masks and free to trust ourselves. Just for today, I will let go of my mask and allow my self-esteem to grow. Let's take a moment of silence, I feel, before we get into this. Moment of silence now. Prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference just for today. Please and thank you. So we're talking about masks and we're talking about why we have them. We have them because at some point in time, we thought the mask, the false presentation of ourselves, would be more pleasing, more acceptable to the societies or the communities that we ran in, right? At some point in time, going to school in elementary, we found out that afros were less than popular because they caused other people to somehow think about Black power and power to the people, and to think about violence when they saw us coming with our afros. And maybe that's not you. Maybe you wore pigtails, right? And at some point in time, the other than ourselves was more beautiful and more acceptable. And we decided that we needed to put on a mask or do something different. Unfortunately, it went way past physical. It began to develop a mental way of thinking that I needed to paint this picture to society of who I am, and then they would love me more, accept me more. And that's why I say it goes way past physical, right? Because at some point in time, we started just in our conversation, we changed the way that we talk. We changed what we said and how we said it, so that we would be, in our mind, attractive to people. And a lot of times they could care less. And they didn't notice. And if they did notice and bullied you about anything, they were just mean people. But to us, we needed to be able to give a certain presentation that was beautiful in words and deed, in our thinking. A lot of times it wasn't even so much that our thinking was so bad, but we thought it was so bad. And so instead of telling people exactly what we thought, we told them a lie. We told them something else. We told them what we thought they needed to hear. How many of you have heard that before? I just said what I thought. I just said what I thought my mother wanted to hear, or I just said what I thought they wanted to hear. And a lot of times when we're making that kind of judgment, we are prejudging a person or prejudging a situation. We're really not giving it the benefit of the doubt. We are thinking, I need to come this direction, this way, in order for this to work, right? And so it's deeply ingrained in us. And what we're talking about is that this low self-esteem is protected from the view of others, by putting on these phony images in order to fool the people around us. And we learn that that is a lack of self-love. We learn that these false personalities and images that we construct are to protect ourselves and protect others, in a sense, from getting to know who we really are, but to please them, right? So that they really don't have a lot to decide upon. I'm giving you this image. Why wouldn't you like me? That's why sometimes people say, do you know so-and-so? I really don't. To tell you the truth, I really don't. I don't know him. I don't know her that well enough to even say what their character. I can tell you what they present, but I have no idea if that's really who they are. You really need to spend a time around a person to figure out who they really are, for the mask to go, for them to let down their guard and start revealing to you their true selves. And when you see that, then you can make a decision about whether or not this person is someone that you want to bring closer into your fellowship, into a relationship, into being roommates or whatever it is. Right? Because why? Looks can be deceiving. Right? Looks can be deceiving, and we all know that. But one of the miracles of recovery is the recognition of ourselves, complete with assets and liabilities. And that is why that fourth step is so important. When you get to the point where you're doing your fourth step, you are looking at your liabilities, true enough, but you are also looking at your assets. Some people have no problem rattling off a ton of assets. I can think of a dozen people that I said, tell me something good about yourself. They would go on and on and on, right? And then if I said, tell me some of your liabilities, I'm still a bit prejudiced about, obese people. I'm still a little bit prejudiced about whatever it is. I still have a problem with lying. They can tell you what their liability, and if you listen to them, it sounds like they have a good grasp on their assets now, and that their liabilities have been reduced to just a few things, not many. And can I tell you what? Of those 12 people that would be able to do that, right? A dozen people that I would be able to ask that, the majority of them would actually truthfully, honestly be able to list their assets and their liabilities, truthfully and honestly. What makes them different from the same number of people that I would ask, and they would go on and on about all of their liabilities? And well, I heard you're a good cook. You didn't list cooking. In fact, I heard that you have a culinary arts degree, certificate. You didn't list that. Matter of fact, you cook from one of the largest upper echelon hotels in the area. You never list that. Why? Why? Right? Because what they are seeing in themselves is in a negative light is still quite large. Right? Maybe they haven't really done the fourth step. Right? Maybe they haven't been able to have a relationship with a sponsor who would help them figure out what their assets are. What are we going into the store and finding is still on the shelf that nobody can use? Nobody buys it, it's outdated. These are liabilities. And what is it when we go into the store and you can never find? Because it gets brought out so quickly, out of stock all the time. Right? That would be your milk, your dairy product, bread, staples, right? What are your staples? What are your things that people love tapping into about you because they're beautiful? Some people, for as many people that I know would honestly be able to take their assessment of themselves, there's just as many people, if not more, that would not be able to. And there's an equal number, a third group of people that would lie. They would think that their assets, well, I have beautiful eyes and big breasts. I'm a very tall, muscular man. The women love me. I'm a Don Juan. The men are crazy about me. They're always, okay. And physical beauty is the best that you can come up with for your assets. Good looking men and women come a dime a dozen. Right? Not that it's not nice to be beautiful. I mean, there's some areas I wish I was more beautiful in, right? However, I don't hang my hat on those things. I don't hang my coat up on that, resting my laurels on that, right? But there's so many people that could never go beyond the basics. They would never be able to tell you what their liabilities are because they're too ashamed of them. Not because they don't know them, but they don't want to tell you what they are. They're too ashamed of them. And they would give you a few assets, but they would be so superficial. They wouldn't be able to tell you if they have good people skills, good communication skills. They wouldn't be able to tell you if they're studious. They wouldn't be able to tell you if they can meditate an hour instead of 5 minutes. They wouldn't be able to tell you any of that. They would have absolutely no clue because they have not done the work. They haven't done the work. And so I want for you to be the person, that first group of individuals that I shared with you. I want for you to be the individual that when someone says, give me a list of your assets, commonly in interviewing, right? They'll say, what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? And I usually tell them my strengths and my weaknesses are usually the same. I love people, and my weakness is that I love people, right? Because that strength in me of caring about individuals causes me sometimes to get in predicaments that I should have better judgment about. I could tell you some horrendous stories where I trusted individuals that I knew absolutely nothing about just because I wanted to be helpful. And it was only by the grace of God that I walked away alive. alive. And I don't even really talk about those too much because they're just that ridiculous. When I think about them, they make the hair on my back stand up because they were that dangerous. And I did it because I didn't know how to say no. I did it because I thought that they needed my company. And there's many a times I walked out with my life, and I didn't know for sure if I was going to. It was just like God had put a hedge of protection around me. But I put myself willfully in some very, very dangerous situations. So I'll tell people, I think my weakness and my strengths are kind of similar. I think I told you guys about a job that I lost just because I showed just how much I do care. And it's just, I don't think this is gonna be a job for you. You know, I hate to say it, but you gotta be able to detach from this group of people, this elderly group of people that you would be caring for. You will need to be able to detach because you'll never know what day of the week you're going to come into work and find out that one of your patients, one of your people that you cared for on a day-to-day basis died in the middle of the night. And I want you to be okay. And I cannot honestly hire you knowing this about you because it will change your life if you don't adjust. Right? She loved me so much that that lady continued to check on me even months after not giving me the job because she really, really thought I was a fantastic person, but she really, really thought I was not the person for that particular job. Right? There's a friend of mine, she wanted to do some service work on a NA meeting on Zoom. And you have to sort of train and qualify. Do you know the committee turned her down? And this is enlightening to me because committee turned her down, and I was very upset about that. She's one of the most beautiful spirits I have ever encountered in all of my life. And I could not understand why they didn't want her to end up being hurt by some of the meanness that she would encounter in that meeting. And I can verify. There's some people that come in that meeting and they are not nice. There's some trolls that come in that meeting. They put stuff in the chat to the person hosting. There's some bigots that come in that meeting. You know, so I can testify that there were some harmful things that I encountered, but I was able to adjust because I know I cannot control people, places, and things. And they were just assuming that she would not be able to adjust because she's so nice. And you know I had a problem with that? I honestly had a problem with that. I can say it affected my own willingness to continue to do service. It really bothered me. But today, listening to that story that I've told so many times about this lady interviewing me and telling me why she could not hire me, do I think she should have gave me an opportunity? You know, I kind of think she did me a favor. I really believe she did me a favor. And at the time when she told me her reasons for not hiring me, I understood them completely. I don't know if that was a mask or not, like if I was pretending to be okay with it. But like I said, she checked on me for a couple months after that to make sure that I was doing okay. And that I really understood. And I always try to reassure that if more people would take that kind of time out to make sure before they pull someone into their circle situation that they're really up for the task. And thank you enough for caring, right? That's the only time. I mean, I never showed her that I was hurt or upset in any kind of way. I believe I had some mask because I'm still talking about that as an experience that was important to me, where my strengths and my weaknesses were, I felt, one and the same, and it just didn't work out favorably for me, you know. I think she did, honestly, I think she did me a favor. I think at the time, though, I was still hurt because I really wanted that job, and I knew the money was going to be good. And I knew that I could stay on that job for a long time, right? But thinking about it today, with such an open mind today, all these decades later, I would have to say, with this recovering addict that was turned down for doing service on this particular meeting, maybe there were some things at play that she didn't consider. You know, if I have to be completely 100% about it, I believe there's very few meetings. Like, say, for instance, she used to be on the meeting every day. Let's say if in 30 days, 1 month's time, we were both in the meeting at the same time, 25 of those days during the time that she would share, she would be wiping tears away. She was just spiritually very sensitive, and so maybe it would not have been in her best interest. I really don't know. But after my analyzation today, it's possible that it was the best decision. I have no idea. But I can say that this reading is challenging me to kind of go back over some of the things of yesteryear and figure out, was I being completely honest, or did I put up a mask because I didn't want people to know that I was hurt? I would say probably there's some incidents where I will put on a mask because I didn't want people to know that I was hurt. But today, even though I wrestle with being able to be vulnerable, right? I think that it's important for people to know how you honestly feel about things. So today I want to challenge you to, just like we did yesterday, look at some areas in your life where you know you're wearing a mask, right? Just list a couple of them. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, 2 or 3. Where are you wearing a mask? Where are you not being completely honest or letting people see who you really are? And then put the risk factor. If the risk factor on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 1, that means that there's really no danger to you in any kind of way by letting them know who you really are, or what you're really feeling, or doing what you really want to do. There's no risk. If it's a 10, that means that's high risk. That might be something that you want to talk to your sponsor about, right? Let me give you an example of a high risk. Let's talk about LGBTQ. Okay. Let's talk about an individual that is in the rooms, in recovery. They have a network, they have a sponsor. Let's say a man. It could be a male, but I mean a female, but let's just say in this story example, it's a man who has not revealed to anyone that he is LGBTQ. He has not revealed to anyone that he likes men. He has a man for a sponsor that he finds very attractive. He has males, brothers that are in his network, sponsorship network, that he also lusts after, right? They don't know that he's LGBTQ. He always puts on this real, this mask, because that's what's always been acceptable in society. And he's getting tired because now in our world today it's becoming more acceptable, and he is getting tired of wearing this mask. He actually feels like he should have a female for a sponsor instead of a man, right? Because he more identifies with the female gender. So, what is his risk level of taking the mask off? Many people have done it before they were ready and ended up taking their lives because people didn't accept them, right? Many people have taken their lives because they tore the mask down, because that's what the movement was, to come out of the closet, and they came out of the closet before they were even accepting about their life, right? And ended up taking their life. What is the risk factor for him to reveal this to a sponsor and the network? Well, clearly it would be a 10. Okay? But a sponsor is one of the individuals that he honestly feels like he has an attraction to. So in this situation, would he be able to go to a sponsor and not have some level of rejection that would affect him? This would be a situation where the individual should seek out someone that they know and trust that has a light situation. And then after some discussions, figure out the way to take that mask off when they are really ready for however it ends up. So I'm not suggesting that, that's just one example. I'm not suggesting that you go, you want your husband to know that that y'all first child is not his, it's actually so and so. Right? I'm not suggesting that we do that, right? And mindlessly start pulling these masks down, but the mask must go. And you need to figure out in your life, how long are you going to continue to have this facade? And when will be the right time for you to be who you, and is it important? Is it important? Right now, today, I want you to look at the things that would be on the low risk level, right? Maybe, I don't know why I'm on this hair thing, but maybe because I've been watching this TikTok couple, mixed couple. The man is he appears to be white, but I'm thinking that he might be actually Italian or something like that. And his girlfriend of 10 years, she's just a tiny little girl. Sometimes she has her teeth in, sometimes she doesn't. She wears her hair natural and a little tiny afro. She does not wear makeup. She believes in eating healthy, very natural. And she was saying, I just love their videos, by the way. She was saying that she was getting so many rude comments about, she doesn't shave her armpit hair. And she was just saying she gets so many rude comments. And she's going to be honest. She doesn't care about none of that. She's who she is, and she feels 100% comfortable with who she is. Her self-esteem and her self-love are not moved by all these rude comments about her looks. And she said, I dare y'all to drop a picture of yourself in your natural self. No makeup, no eyelashes, no wigs glued on. Show your alopecia, right? She's daring, all these other people to be natural. And she's saying, half of y'all that are talking about me won't be able to do it because you have no self-love. And maybe your low risk mask coming down is you deciding that you don't want to put chemicals on your hair anymore. Maybe it's that you're not gonna wear wigs anymore. Maybe it's that, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I want you to think about what that mask is that you wear. And then I want for you to make a commitment if it's low risk, right? 4 down. If it's a 5, you might want to pray about it and go to your sponsor. But if it's like a low risk, I want you to try to take the mask off little by little and see how that goes. And maybe you need to plan a date to do that. Maybe the man that you're with, he has no idea that that's not your real hair because you keep it looking so tight all the time. Right? Maybe, I don't know what it could be, but I think that the level of freedom that you'll get, if you're ready and the risk is low, will be good for you. Maybe you need to tell your sponsor, hey, you know what? I don't like the way that you talk to me. I don't like the way that you talk to me. I'm not your child. And this is not militia recovery, right? I know they used to do that, sit down and shut up back in the day, but this is not that day. This is 2022, where people can get recovery on the internet, literally. And I don't like the way that you talk to me. I'm not in a gang. I'm not gangster. Actually, I have a lot of spiritual principles that affect how I talk to certain people, to people in general. And if you're not able to change how you are talking to me, right? Because I don't like feeling like I'm being bullied every time I talk to you. Like, why does it feel like we're going to break out in a fist fight every time I talk to you? If you don't like me and you're not really interested, if you treat other people differently, but when you talk to me, you cussing and swearing and, girl, don't make me put my hands. Who are you talking to? I'm a whole grown woman standing on all 10. Why are you talking to me like that? Maybe you need to tell your sponsor, bye. I'm going to find another sponsor. Either change how you're talking to me and maybe they're going to say, I don't give a darn. See you later, bye. Maybe that's what you're expecting. And you just don't want to have that be a part of your story, that you had a sponsor for so many years and then you had to change and then you had another sponsor for so many change. Maybe it is an inside job, but you deserve to be treated with dignity, right? So maybe it's that you want to get a hold of your sponsor and say, I'm done. I'm going to find another sponsor. Got some sponsee sisters I'm pretty tight with. I'm gonna click up with them until I get another sponsor lined up. Thank you. I don't know. Maybe that's the mask that you've been wearing. And you need to get rid of it, right? Low risk. Is it low risk to change a sponsor? I don't know. Depends on how much you were using them. If you literally are not in connection with your sponsor that often, like you can go a whole week and maybe you're just showing up at sponsorship meetings, and the risk would be that you feel like you will fall away from that network, right? Only you and only you can decide that, right? But decide what the mask is that you have on and start working on taking that off. I think your freedom and your joy and your peace will be a lot greater. My name is Mighty Stream. I've enjoyed talking to you. And I will be doing the spiritual principle a day. However, I will not be doing it right away. I have barely gotten a grip on my day. And I've spent so much time on this particular NA meditation that I do not see myself doing the spiritual principle a day right away. I will get to it though. And I have enjoyed your company today, and I will be talking to you tomorrow. Take care.